It was a decision, Maureen later told the police, they hoped might protect their scant family time. In fact, the yard was so close that Red sometimes followed Dougie on his short drive round there. Dougie swore she was cheating on them with another household, but indulged the mystery anyway. Red would loiter, make sure Dougie had spotted her, shift her head fractionally, teasingly, and make a distinctive squawk. Then she'd dart up the railway line towards London, mission unknown. Like Boyd at his bedroom window, Maureen at the sink, Red's movements were habitual, bound to Dougie. That she was also absent that morning made perfect sense. Except Dougie was still in Watford. Having collected his trailer from the depot, Dougie had diverged from his marked route and peeled into Watford's oldest industrial estate, now mostly derelict and likely to stay so. Here he'd driven to a mothballed factory unit he was subletting under a false name, paid for with cryptocurrency no one knew he owned, and nosed the lorry through its hangar-style doors. Exactly what Dougie did inside the unit would later become a source of intense press speculation. But the best anybody could tell, he turned on a generator at a series of high-powered flood lamps, uncoupled the trailer from his cab with a mini-crane, and set about clearing his belongings from the dash and glove box. Next he pulled the dust sheet from a second lorry cab, parked in the centre of the unit, and manoeuvred the mini-crane into position above it. According to the tabloids, he chose this moment to stand and admire his work, because this second cab was Dougie's great and terrible secret, his months-long project. A pre-ban diesel, whose bones he'd salvaged from local scrapyards, whose rust-eaten body panels he'd single-handedly scoured and refinished, and whose moving parts he'd carefully uprated. The cab now had an adapted tractor engine, performance filters, and a second, more powerful turbocharger. At each corner were heavier springs and dampers, and underneath, the chassis had been reinforced with welded steel braces. All these modifications were intended to cope with the unit's extra power and added weight. Using a set of crude moulds, Dougie had also layered the cab's body, windows, fuel tanks and undercarriage with a composite of steel and concrete. The result was a fearsome protective shell he nicknamed road metal in notes found during a warranted search of the unit. Investigators later admitted their scepticism. None could bring themselves to write armoured until some of the cab's panels were measured at 4 inches thick. At around 6:30 a.m., surrounded by staging lights, sling chains and a pulley system that spoke to Dougie's commitment, if not his inventiveness, he activated the 20-ton winch and mini-crane and raised the armoured cab body away from the chassis. From the driver's seat, he used a remote control to reactivate the winch and slowly lowered the armoured shell around himself. Half an hour later, he was on the motorway, northbound. There were multiple audio recordings. Maureen and Boyd had to endure them on the second day of the inquest, of other truckers radioing Dougie to ask what he was driving. Their tone was friendly, intrigued, a long way from challenging. "Having reviewed these tapes again," the coroner said, "it does sound like Alport's customised vehicle was regarded as a mild curiosity. Perhaps it was seen as a PR stunt, or a prop for a new film production." Dougie had fooled his employers too. He drove the war cab so carefully, so assuredly, that even the fleet operations team missed the signs in their data, the apparent drop in fuel efficiency, the lost time. It hardly mattered that Dougie had tampered with his tachometer and refitted his firm's black box system to maintain the illusion that the original cab was moving. When everybody realised what was actually going on, it was already too late. Dougie's Wayfinder served him a stopover alert just after 9 a.m., one of England's new regulations, litigation concern, veneered with employee safety, had it that truckers still had to take a break every few hours, as they had in the EU days. Dougie duly pulled in at the next available stop, Lorry Heaven, to maintain his cover. CCTV footage showed the war cab circling the lot as he deliberated over where to park it. He settled on a far corner, facing a substation enclosure, where the standard trailer obscured the brazen cab and lengthened the odds of somebody asking questions. It did the trick. Despite wide-ranging interviews, not one staff member from Lorry...